I can't wait till I get you on the floor, good looking.
I agree with it to a certain extent. Grades, they're judgmental in nature. However, I think the bigger issue lies in the fact that we're an over-test society. We spend more time learning how to pass tests than we do learning how to actively use our major. So what's your major?
Film and video.
Mine's economics. So, to film and video, if you're spending all your time taking tests over arbitrary films that you may not have ever seen, then you're not going to know how to properly film, record, or anything like that. If I'm spending most of my time learning how to derive simple equations, I'm not going to understand how to affect the geoeconomics of it. So, to an extent, I feel like you're true, but I think the real root lies with tests.
So I do agree that there has to be some source of measurement. Like they have to know whether or not you know your material or not. One of the ways they could do is try to make the grades more relevant to kind of like present day issues or stuff you'll actually be using in your field.
An article that I read about a student in Canada who received an A- in the class, but his grade on his ending transcript, he got a B+ because the quota for A's was met. He's still in the school. Do you think that he's justified?
I think it's an overreaction, but the fact that certain grades are quota, that's entirely fine. You should get what you earn. If you earned an A+ or an A-, you should get an A-. But suing it, if he's suing it for anything other than just getting his A-, I think that's a little taking it too far. If he's trying to sue him for one name, that's a little messed up.
What is the difference between a B+ and an A- is about what?
0.3 tons.
Yeah. It won't seriously affect him that much.
I still think if you earn it, you should get it.
How do you feel about
I mean, they're alright. There's a number, was older and kind of been through those harder classes. We don't really have them in the grades. In one of my classes, we had 5 grades. Each part was 20%. So, you could choose not to do it and suffer, but they were so easy that they kind of got away from the fact that some classes have like 100 assignments. It was easy. It's less of a nuance now.
What's your name again?
Patrick. Nice to meet you, Ken.
Scott.
Every country on earth at the moment is reforming public education. There are 2 reasons for it. The first of them is economic. People are trying to work out how do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of the 21st century. How do we do that? Given that we can't anticipate what the economy will look like at the end of next week, as the recent turmoil is demonstrating. How do we do that? The second, though, is cultural. Every country on earth is trying to figure out how do we educate our children so they have a sense of cultural identity and so that we can pass on the cultural genes of our communities while being part of the process of globalization. How do we square that circle? The problem is they're trying to meet the future by doing what they did in the past. And on the way, they're alienating millions of kids who don't see any purpose in going to school. When we went to school, we were kept there with a story, which is if you worked hard and did well and got a college degree, you would have a job. Our kids don't believe that. And they're right not to, by the way. You're better having a degree than not, but it's not a guarantee anymore. And particularly not if the route to it marginalizes most of the things that you think are important about yourself. And people say we have to raise standards as if this is a breakthrough. Like, really, yes, we should. Why would you lower them? I haven't come across an argument that persuades me of lowering them. But raising them, of course we should raise them. The problem is that the current system of education was designed and conceived and structured for a different age. It was conceived in the intellectual culture of the Enlightenment and in the economic circumstances of the Industrial Revolution.
So, Deja, you're a freshman.
Yes.
How do you feel about grading so far? How do you feel about, whether or not they matter?
Plus, though, freshman and sophomore year, grading is good because it shows work ethic. And, I understand that the reason why it's on a transcript is to show work ethic. As far as when you get to graduate school and things of that matter, and you get beyond just your first degree in college, I feel like it really doesn't matter as much. Because at that point, it's not... first of all, if you can get through college, you already show that you have enough work ethic to get where you need to go. So as far as the whole grading beyond that point, beyond your first degree, it doesn't make sense, because at that point, all you need to know is whether or not this person can grasp this concept, and grades don't necessarily do that for you. Students that don't necessarily study or do any work will get A's and B's, but students who don't, necessarily skip class and stuff like that, and students who actually study and stuff like that can get, C's and D's. Just for the simple fact that maybe they don't understand the way this teacher teaches, or maybe, it's not complimentary to them as a person. I'm kind of up in the air about the subject, but it doesn't necessarily show an even playing field.
Most graduating seniors, they feel like it doesn't really make sense to grade. I mean, they're important, but it doesn't matter. So how do you think you'll feel in a couple years?
I mean, it depends on exactly how many grades are being given. If the only thing you're being given is exams and stuff like that, I feel like it does matter, because at that point, if all they're giving out is exams, they're doing it to make sure that you grasp the concept and that you're actually worthy of, going beyond whatever, course that you're taking. But if it's just a lot of busy work, a bunch of assignments that aren't really, teaching you or anything like that, I don't really feel like it would matter at that point.
Some people's opinion is that some students just learn how to please a teacher instead of actually learning things. And so people feel like grading is arbitrary, but learning isn't. Can you tell me what you think the difference between the two is?
I feel like as a whole, grading is the most efficient way to test learning, because grading and testing is pretty much the same thing. But as far as, I don't know, I don't really think there's not really necessarily a way to really test learning, because some students get testing anxiety and things of that matter, and they can't really perform to the best of their ability when they're called to do so. For the most part, I think grading and learning are kind of on the same, playing field, but not necessarily complementary to one another.
Okay, well, see, grading is an essential part of our education society, which is lets us students know that we're actually doing something. Right, we're actually retaining the information. Right. Let's go ahead. What you mean what I think about education? Don't even get me started. I just got my test back this week and I failed that thing. And I'm just like, this don't make no sense. Keep me a sugar daddy is gonna take care of me, Tyrod, and other shit, and he for grading is so arbitrary, okay? Girl, that word. I know, I sound so smart. But anyways.
Going out so hot, just like an oven.